A very troubling question remains in the Parkland shooting. I'm going to tell you what it is because I've been asking it. There's something that's bothering me about the Broward County Sheriff's Office's public information response. Now, the men and women of the Broward County Sheriff's Office, both on the law enforcement side and on the emergency services side, fire rescue, did an outstanding textbook job evacuating students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland after the horrific shooting that left 17 dead. But I have now personally, 4 times by phone and once by email, inquired with the Broward Sheriff's Office as to whether or not there was a school resource officer on the campus, as to whether or not one was even assigned to the school. I asked them a series of questions and still haven't received a response, despite, by statute, them having to respond within a business day. Now, I understand they're busy, so I'm not going to be a stickler for timelines. They're being inundated with information requests from around the world. But this is a very important question. School resource officers are what they sound like: an armed, trained police officer, typically a deputy with the Broward County Sheriff's Office, assigned to the school. I was speaking about it a bit on the show yesterday. This school was very large, thousands of students. It, in and of itself, is a small city, its own community. It's a good-sized town. So having an officer there just makes sense. You heard the former sheriff of Broward County say, police respond to schools all the time anyway: stolen bicycles, stolen cell phones, fights, altercations, unruly kids, unruly parents, arguments at sports games. They respond there for all types of crimes like they would in any other community. So my questions were, was there a school resource officer assigned to the school? Was there? If there was, why didn't they intervene? If there wasn't, why? If there was, were they on campus? And if they weren't on campus, why? These are valid questions, and questions the public has a right to know. Now, I think the men and women, as I said, of the Broward County Sheriff's Office do an outstanding job every day. It's one of the most professional law enforcement agencies I've ever encountered. But like many other issues with law enforcement these days, I'm not a big fan of the person at the top. I've found Sheriff Scott Israel to be lacking in his understanding of training, in his thoroughness with training protocols. I hear accounts from deputies, from sources, telling me that training under him is different. There's much less of it, and there's less of an importance put on it than there were under previous sheriffs. And that's very problematic in these times. Broward County is home to Fort Lauderdale. We have a very large and active seaport. We have a very large and active airport. We had a shooting at our airport. We need a sheriff who understands these things. So I am not a fan of Sheriff Israel because quite often he worries more about being a far-left Democratic politician than he does a chief law enforcement officer. The sheriffs here are elected positions, very political positions. Now, the previous sheriff, Al Lamberti, who I had on the show, full disclosure, is a friend of mine, but I respect the man. He was a cop's cop. He spent 35 years in that agency. Israel was a sheriff of a small local department who then won an election in a heavily Democratic county. That doesn't necessarily make one qualified for the job. In my opinion, as a former law enforcement guy, is that Israel is a bit out of his league. I've been very underimpressed with the way he's handled things. And I say this again, as a former law enforcement person, but also as a resident of Broward County, a resident of the county in which he runs the police department, the sheriff's office. I've been very underimpressed, as are many other people. But this isn't about the sheriff. This is about the public information response and the sheriff's management of that, not about the sheriff's career on the whole. They need to tell us what went on with the school resource office. They need to explain to us if one was there, if one wasn't there, why. And I'm hoping I get a response. When I do, I'll bring it to you on my longer show, Off the Cuff Declassified. Tune in. It's going to be very interesting. If you like this content, and this is very important content, please subscribe to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to watch my longer 1-hour show, Off the Cuff Declassified, right here on The Rebel. And go to your app store and download the Rebel app. It really is a great way to get our content very fast, very efficient. I absolutely love it. It's how I access The Rebel now exclusively. As always, thanks very much for watching, and you have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.